case you missed our talk this weekend, we thought we'd give you a sneak peek. Here's the beginning of that talk. If you are a member, you'll get a QR code in the next quarterly, which will take you to the full presentation. Check it out. Today we are going to talk about everyone's favorite thing, or at least one of my favorite things, shoes. Specifically, we will be talking about women's shoes through 100 years, beginning in 1800 and coming right up through the turn of the 20th century. Women's shoes really show how women's roles in society changed during this century. To set the scene, women, particularly in the United States, were emulating European styles. It's been less than 20 years since our break from Great Britain, and so the connections to Europe were still strong. Before we jump into the shoes of the 19th century, let's take a look at women's shoes leading up to the 1800s. These are fairly typical of women's shoes in the 18th century. They have a sturdy heel, solid leather soles, and this pair is beautifully decorated with hand embroidery. The heels helped keep hems out of the muck and keep your petticoats from getting wet as well. In the 18th century, we were also obsessed with fashions from the continent, and the celebrities of the day were European monarchs. What kings and queens wore set the fashion around the world. Welcome to the beginning of the 1800s. We commonly refer to this time period as the Regency period. Think of Jane Austen. We have little evidence of women working outside the home due to a lack of census information as regards to the women of the household, so it's really kind of hard to say how many women worked outside of the home. This is not to say that women simply lived lives of leisure. They worked in their homes, on their own farms, and it's just that their work was not recognized, and it certainly was not paid. Some women did have to work outside of the home. If their spouse passed away, or if they chose not to get married, they would have to earn an income in some way. Betsy DeLort's mother was forced to earn a living following the death of Betsy's father. She started a bakery and was able to raise her daughters on the income she made. Women could also earn income by doing clothing mending, laundry, teaching, and midwifery. As for free time, hobbies for women had a tendency to be quite sedate. Reading, writing, playing a musical instrument, playing cards, dancing, embroidery, sewing, painting, etc. I'm not trying to make broad generalizations. Of course, there were women who did very physical activities. It just wasn't as common or as well documented. Strenuous physical activity was discouraged by doctors at the time who thought it would compromise women's reproductive health, which was of paramount importance for women's roles in society. Women's primary goals were to get married and to have children. So, for sedate, mostly indoor activities, thin slippers were considered suitable and attractive. Let's talk about how women's shoes were made in the early 1800s. Today, we have so many options available to us, but in the Regency period, women would have their shoes made to fit their feet at a cordwainer. Cordwainers made new shoes for customers, whilst cobblers repaired shoes for the average customer. In this period, shoes would be made on a wooden last or mold. The fabric would be stretched and sewn around the last, creating the proper shape. Most shoes in the early 1800s were made from a very thin leather known as Morocco leather, or made from silk or satin with a paper-thin leather sole. Unlike our shoes today, they would be made on what's known as a straight last. So each shoe was made on the same last. There was no left or right, and the cordwainer would label the shoe so the wearer would know which shoe to put on which foot. Eventually, the thin shoes would form themselves to the wearer's feet, and it would become obvious which shoe was which. Cordwainers also put labels in their shoes, as you can see in these that belong to our Frances Henrietta from 1832. The original paper label remains even though these shoes are nearly 200 years old. It reads J.L. Williams, number 232 River Street, Troy, New York. Here is a fantastic quote from an Englishwoman visiting the United States in 1820. Our other talks are on our website and on our social media platforms if you're interested in coming to some of our other great presentations. Thanks so much for stopping by.